Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Mind, Your Body, and Soul. I am your host, Joseph Ward. Matthias couldn't join me today. He's on vacation, so shout out to Matthias. But this is Mind, Your Body, and Soul. And remember, Mind, Your Body, and Soul is an educational podcast that focuses on all things health related to help our listeners learn more about various health topics and information they may not have access to. We seek to inform, empower, uplift, and mobilize our listeners to become the healthiest versions of themselves. Remember, you can catch us on our website at www.nmcpodcast.com, as well as our parental website, which is www.neighborhoodmedicalcenter.org. Our audio is also available on Anchor, Breaker, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, share this video, because it's a lot of good information that we have had in the past, and it's a lot of good information that you're going to get in this podcast, and a lot of good information that you're going to get in the future. So make sure you subscribe to Neighborhood Medical Center and check out all of the great things that we have going on. So today on the podcast, we're going to give y'all some legal information, right? And I know y'all the medical center, but still being a community resource, we want to make sure that our patients and our community members have access to any type of information that they would need. So about a couple of weeks ago, Matthias and I were at a community event, and Matthias said, "Hey, I need you to come talk to this gentleman in this under this tent, because the gentleman has a lot of good information that we could use, and it's an organization that our community can access and will be beneficial." So Thomas Voracek, did I say it right?
Close enough. No judge throughout the state ever gets it, so you're fine. Okay. Voracek.
Voracek. Okay, make sure I say it right. But at least I'm on par with the judges.
Yeah, I mean, I've been throughout the state, so you're in good company.
Okay. Thomas Voracek is an administrative law attorney for the legal services of North Florida, and legal services of North Florida cover all 16 counties of the North Florida Panhandle, with 5 offices from Jefferson County to Pensacola. So that is our area on over to the western part of the Panhandle. They serve residents in all areas of civil law. Mr. Voracek handles any administrative law matters throughout the Panhandle, specializing in public benefits, including Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, nursing home discharges, SNAP, TANF, the TANF, the Reemployment Assistance. He's previously handled family law cases with the Legal Services of North Florida, and he's a graduate of the University of Miami Law School in 2019. And I had to do that. I just had to do that.
We lost the basketball. What a what?
But still, I was hoping for the All Florida final. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah. But welcome to our podcast. Thank you for taking the time out to talk with us about what you do and your organization.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure to be here, Joseph.
Yes. So Legal Services of North Florida. Let's start. Well, before we get into Legal Services of North Florida, a little bit about you. Why law? Why did you choose to take the path of law and go that way?
Not a normal question. And I think you can more focused ask of like, why public interest law? So why am I doing not big corporate, not big money law? I was an investigator with a public defender. I actually moved down here from the DC area. So I was an investigator up there with a public defender, and realized, this is really hard, but this is the type of work I need to do. I need to be working with the people. I need to be working with people who really have a lot of issues, and in a way that I can actually impact them. There's a lot of injustice going on. There's a lot of injustice in society, and I hope that I can do something to help people out. So I went down to the University of Miami. They have a really good public interest program. I thought I wanted to be in Florida, and specifically wanted to be in Miami. Worked for a judge down there for a little while, took a job up in Tallahassee that brought me here, and then transitioned over to legal services. So I used to do criminal. So I have the background there. My office currently does not do anything criminal. So I do have to put that out there. Legal services does not cover criminal cases, but we basically cover most anything else under the sun. So just put that out there. Are you muted?
I'm sorry, I hit the mute button. Thank you. All right. So we're here in Tallahassee. So I'm going to ask this from my standpoint as well.
Yeah.
A bit familiar with legal services of North Florida, but not very familiar with legal services of North Florida. So just from a basic generic level, when somebody's asking, well, what
like
do you
who
do?
are we? What do we do?
Yes, exactly.
So I mean, that's the general question. We're a pretty big organization. We have I think we're over 100 people at this point. Mm-hmm. We have 5 offices throughout the Panhandle. So like you said, we cover everything from Jefferson County, and I'm going to show that I'm not from Northern Florida, but I say it as Monticello. Everyone up here does it a different way. But we cover that to Pensacola, to Escambia County. So we've got offices in Tallahassee, we've got Quincy, we've got Panama City Beach, or just Panama City, actually, not on the beach, Fort Walton, and then in Pensacola. We cover really anything that's not criminal, like I said. So kind of a smattering of things we do, and honestly, I'll probably miss a lot of things, but landlord-tenant is a big one. Anything to do with family law, so dissolution of marriage, divorces, a lot of people call them, child custody. I did that for a little while. Okay. Anything related to disaster benefits, so FEMA appeals or insurance issues. I do public benefits. I do administrative law, so mostly Social Security, food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid. Anything with veterans' rights. We have an attorney out in Fort Walton who's really good on veterans' rights that I've worked with before through the Veterans Association or Veterans Administration. But really anything that's not directly criminal.
Gotcha.
And we do focus on serving indigent people, so people of lower means, but that's not exclusively what we do. There are we're a nonprofit, so we work off of grants. There's certain requirements we have to meet, but there's a wide expanse of different grants. So there are a lot of different populations that we can help. My best advice for people and what I tell people whenever I meet them in the community is apply to us. It doesn't hurt. See if we can help you.
Gotcha. Okay. That's great because I guess the way I can articulate it is because you guys remind me of us as far as the way you would serve the people, because you're designed for those who may not have access to legal services or may not be able to pay for legal services. And there are legal services outside of the criminal legal services, even though we mostly think about criminal law because, the stuff we watch on TV.
Yep.
But everything else that you may forget about, you guys
until you need it.
Right.
Exactly. And that is a big part of it. We have, through the laws in this country, we have a public defender system. I used to do public defender type work. Can't say enough good things about it, but that only covers the criminal. It doesn't help you if you're trying to get a divorce. It doesn't help you if you're trying to get custody of your children back. It doesn't help you if you're trying to get Social Security benefits, and if you're getting evicted by your landlord. Those are the 4 big things I see every single day. That imagine if you're dealing with that crisis. It's a crisis, and if you can't afford an attorney to help you, you're either going to go it alone, or hopefully you can have some sort of an advocate like us to step in for you. And we do try to step in for as many people as we can, and give you that same level of service that you would get with the private bar.
Okay. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation because you made me think about I remember when I was younger, I can't remember what the legal service is, but it was more like the MLM legal service. And and they would come out and in the communities and they would pose themselves as something, services you guys provide. They would pose as that, but then I can't remember the name of them, but they were overall an MLM, and they were really trying to sign people up, but they would come into our underserved areas, and we have people who are really looking for legal services, but then they come with an MLM pitch, and so and I'm sure that bred some kind of distrust in some of the communities. So that's why I'm so glad we're having this conversation. So when we're out, because we like to promote our agents to different community-based agencies, we can give the specific information and we're not trying to sell you anything. These are services that you can access to be able to use
Right.
that you may not have known that were out here.
Right. And to be, totally upfront about it, because I still get people that ask this, well, how much is it going to cost me? I have an appointment with a client tomorrow, and she asked me on the phone, how much are you going to charge me? We don't charge. We don't charge for our services. So I encourage everyone to apply. You can either apply on our website, which I'm sure that you'll provide. There's an online application system that will ask you just some basic demographic information, who you are, where you live, how we can get in contact with you, and then tell us about your issue. What is it that you're having problems with? And if it's so we can figure out, is there something that we can help you here?
Right.
Or, what do we need to do about it? There's also a phone intake that you can do. So you can call in people. Or there are paper applications. If you drop off at one of our 5 office locations, you can pick up a paper application and fill it out.
Okay. So it's multiple ways, making it
we try to make it available to people. I worked out in the Quincy office for a little while. A lot of people took the paper applications, even though I was saying, just call in, just do the internet. But no, they wanted the paper application, and that's fine. We'll work with it.
Yeah, because they're used to it. So yeah, they're definitely gonna take those. Okay, and so and as you were talking, I'm on the website and I'm clicking some of the links.
Yep.
And as you're saying, applying for the legal services. So literally, go to where I'm on the site that asks you what language you want to go to. Hit the continue button. And it's straightforward, and it walks you right through to be able to apply. And the services are free.
Yep, everything's free. And like I said, if you call into the phone number, the main intake line, you'll get all of that. There will be a person who walks you through doing that exact same questionnaire.
Right. Okay. So what in this area, especially in this Tallahassee area, what are some of the most common cases that you deal with from our community?
So, I see a lot of family law issues. Okay. There are many, many, many domestic violence issues of people trying to get away from an abusive spouse or an abusive co-parent, an abusive partner who you happen to have children with. Often that comes with custody issues. Often that comes with property issues. I don't need to probably tell a lot of people about how divorces work, but dealing with that can be a very contentious process. I've still got a few cases, even though I'm supposed to be the administrative law attorney right now, right? I still have some divorces that are left over. Right. I specifically deal with trying to get people public benefits. So anybody who's dealt with anything to do with the state or public benefits or insurance is going to know, it's a long slog. People, if you're dealing with Department of Children and Families, if you're dealing with Social Security Administration, even if you talk to somebody who works at one of those places, they won't deny that, you try to call us, you're probably going to be waiting for a while. There is just a backlog, and that is just the way it is. The rules are pretty convoluted. A lot of people don't understand what exactly is going on. For me, that's why I particularly wanted to do this administrative law position, because I know that there's those cases out there where somebody really is entitled to benefits or to help on these issues. And if they could just have a little push, if they can just have a lawyer in the corner being able to explain, okay, here's what's going on, here's the choices available to you, or that advocacy component where I can go in front of an administrative judge and say, here's what we're dealing with. Here's the scenario of what's going on right now and why my client deserves benefits. And these benefits, they make all the difference in the world for some people. Having insurance is untold level of importance. And I'm sure you can imagine that dealing with medical contacts.
Right. That's a whole nother beast.
Treatment. Right. Benefits, making sure that people have food to eat, have money to get housing, just the basics, especially when you're talking about Social Security and, we've got a person that can't work. They physically cannot work. Right.
And that's incredible, because when we think about legal services, first of all, most of us, we lump everything into one, a lawyer, but then we're looking at, we mostly think about, especially the communities we serve, we mostly think about public defendants.
Yep, because that's the thing that you deal with all the time.
Right. And the heavily criminal law.
Yep.
But we forget,
or you're dealing with a prosecutor, right?
Exactly. But you are literally talking about being the person in the position to help, that resource person who also is a legal expert who can help people get public benefits and get the benefits they need. But you started off in the beginning, you're talking about if being able to assist somebody who may be in a abusive situation, who is trying to get away. That's right up our alley. But people need to know that, because we meet a lot of people out when we're doing our outreach, and they have no idea where to start. They may, especially a lot of college students, they have friends who are in domestic violence situations or this or that. Of course, they haven't heard about the refuge house yet, but for a lot of them, that's where it stops. It stops at the refuge house. So how are you able to help? Like, what kind of legal protections and benefits are you able to help some of those people who may be coming out of those, or maybe in those domestic violence situations?
So we, specifically, we deal with dissolutions of marriages. That's what a divorce is called in Florida.
Right.
Any sort of paternity issues. So if you have a child with somebody and dealing with, how are we going to do time sharing? How are we going to do child support? Anything like that. Those are all very squarely family law matters. Those are going into Florida courts. That is, the bread and butter of a family law practice, that you would be going to a private attorney. There's a ton of private attorneys that do that. And I have nothing bad to say about many of them. But we do that too. And we can do it for you and do it for free if you qualify.
Gotcha. And I see, as I clicked on the family portion of the services tab, there it says, for more information on divorces, please see the domestic sexual violence service pages. So there's an active link on the page that you can use to get more information. And
right. And another big thing that may not fall under family because it's a little bit bigger of an umbrella, but injunctions. So those are, you might be familiar with them as orders of protection, restraining orders, stay away orders. Florida has a few different types that fit under different scenarios, but we cover all the counties throughout our 16 area county, and trying to get people, whether it's stalking or if it's sexual abuse or if it's domestic violence or if it's some sort of cyber stalking, we can help you see if you can get an injunction, a stay away order for that. To go in front of a judge and have somebody say, you can't do this anymore. You need to leave this person alone.
So for a person who's seeking an injunction, what would, two-part question, what would qualify them to actually get the injunction, and what would disqualify them for the injunction if they are in a situation?
So it's not so much about disqualification. I think it's more, I guess I'll say, appropriate to think about what you are required to show, because you as a petitioner, it's called a petitioner, the person who's coming into court and saying, I want this injunction.
Right.
You have to say and put forth evidence of reasonable fear of somebody, for the most part, if we're talking about a domestic violence situation or a domestic violence injunction, or if we're talking about a stalking injunction, repeated incidents of somebody harassing you for no reason, purpose, for no good reason that somebody's coming up to. You have to show that evidence, and it has to be objective, meaning that a judge would have to be able to look at it and say, yeah, I get it. This person has this reasonable fear that, many other people would have, given if they were in the same situation. A pitfall, I guess I'll call it, is if there is evidence that, you're saying you're so afraid, but your actions don't match that. And I feel you can probably tell that I'm hedging here, because I don't want to victim blame. I get how people go back. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, how could you ever go back?
Right.
Because we all know that people do go back.
Right.
There's a lot of very good, legitimate reasons for someone to return. But that is a question that will come up. How can you say that you're being afraid, but you go back to him the day after?
Right.
Does it really make sense that you're saying that this happened if you went right back?
Right. Gotcha.
There's I've dealt with that countless times. It comes up in advocacy, but it's a question, and
yes,
frankly, it's a question that needs to be asked. I think
it does, especially if you're talking about doing your best to ensure the safety of the person, to give them as many resources as possible to be safe and to remain safe.
Right.
So, because that's the whole purpose of the injunction.
Right, and also, injunctions are not just pieces of paper. They do have actual effects. They should not just be given out like candy. This is important that the person who is having an injunction placed against them have protections and be in the law called due process.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
The same way that, just because you've been accused of a crime.
Right. Yeah, doesn't mean you're guilty.
Just go automatically.
Gotcha. So on the services, I also see elder law. What is that?
That is a large, kind of expansive term. It kind of covers everything for anyone who is an older adult. So everything that I've talked about, it's not just a young person game. It can happen to older people too.
Right.
But there's also things that I guess I'll say more commonly come up with older individuals. Not that they can't come up with younger people, but just because of the being older, it comes up. So things like wills, things like okay, what's going to happen to me and my property when I pass? Things like guardianship, which a lot of people haven't heard of, but what happens to me, or powers of attorney? What happens to me if I'm incapacitated and can't communicate what I want to have happen to me, how I should be cared for? Who's going to step in? Do I have a son? Do I have a daughter who's able to do that? Do I have a friend or a relative who's able to do that? Unfortunately, there's a lot of instances where people don't make those plans until it's too late. Right. They don't come up with a will. They don't come up with powers of attorney. And then suddenly they need one. And unfortunately, they come to me and I say, it's too late. I can't go back and make this happen.
Right. So how long does it take to draw up a will?
It wouldn't necessarily take very long. If the stars align and all the scheduling works out and you come in and what you want. I say this as we're dealing with people who don't have vast assets, right? Right. Generally speaking, I don't have Jeff Bezos coming in here. If I had Jeff Bezos coming in here and we're talking about estate planning, we're talking about a whole nother game because we're suddenly dealing with billions of assets. But I think the more time-consuming aspect of things, other than making sure that the schedules align and people come in for appointments, is okay, I need to make sure, me as the lawyer, I need to make sure that somebody has what we call in the law capacity. So, Joseph, I've met you before. I think you can make decisions for yourself based on everything I've heard. Congratulations. I think that. But, that doesn't necessarily mean you always make great decisions.
Exactly.
But you understand, the impact of your actions and that there are certain things that have certain consequences, and you can make decisions for yourself about basic things. You can manage a budget. You can decide where you want to live. You can decide who you want to hang out with, basic things like that. If I asked you who's the president right now, you'd be able to answer that question. Or what day is it? You'd be able to answer that question. When I am presented with a client, I have to make sure that they do have capacity, that they can understand, that they're lucid. Because if they're not able to sign a will. They're not able to sign a power of attorney because, they're saying, oh, I want all of my money to go to son number one instead of son number two. I have to know that they're actually cognizant of what that means.
Right. Yeah.
So that can be difficult. I mean, I generally do an exam in my office where I talk to the person and just kind of see, okay, what, do they seem like they've got it together? But also, like I said, just having somebody decide what they want to do. These are big decisions that people make.
So at what point in an adult's life should they have a will done for themselves?
I was told by a professor that once you become an adult, you should probably get a will.
Okay.
I will be honest, I don't have a will. Part of that is just because, intestacy is how the laws are made for people that don't make out a will. So if you die without writing anything out, the legislature has decided what will happen. Generally, it goes to your children or your spouse, or it goes to your parents, spouse, children, parents is the order.
Right.
I've been at a point in my life that, I'm not married, I don't have siblings. So if I die, everything's going to my parents. And that's fine. I don't really have any reason to say no to that. But if you have particular desires, you should get on it.
And that's something you can update over time as well.
Yes. Yep. Gotcha. You can put in a clause to a will or a power of attorney saying, I discount all of my past ones. All of my past ones are no longer valid.
Gotcha. So this one more question about elder law, because it popped in my head. Elders are a target for scams and a lot. So is there any way that if an elder is scammed by something, they can use your services to kind of recoup some of the things or kind of put protection?
That's happened. I mean, we can take a look at it. It's hard to say immediately just because those cases are so fact specific, and we do get some of them. We can try to do things like sending out cease and desist. We can try to do a sort of mediation if it's a legitimate business claim. I mean, sometimes it's not a scam. It's just that this person wasn't able to manage their finances or made some sort of mistake. Again, apply. Every case is different. Unfortunately, part of my work is telling people sometimes there's nothing we can do. I wish there was, but the law doesn't provide all of your wishes and dreams. Sometimes I do have to tell a client, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do.
Wow. And so, can you give an example of one of those situations? It doesn't have to be an exact, but just a scenario or something that a client can present to you and you may not be able to help them.
Well, I mean, it runs the gamut of I may be able to help them, but the outcome might not be exactly what they wanted. To flat out, I can't help you. Like there's nothing I can do. So in a child custody, if somebody comes in and says, I don't want dad to have any custody at all, we can try, but that is a pretty high burden. You have to prove some pretty serious conduct for that to happen. A lot of times I will have to sit with clients, and people throughout my agency do this and say, look, I know that that's what you want. In fact, that's usually how I start my consults for a family law case. I know this is what you want, but we have to calibrate our expectations here. I need to tell you that it's not likely. You have to make your peace with the fact that it's probable that you're going to get something less.
Right.
If you deal with Social Security, it might be that, we take your case, we go through the initial application, we go through a reconsideration, which is kind of the internal review. I like to call it calling the manager, because somebody else will look at your application and decide if their denial was appropriate. We can even take it in front of an administrative law judge. If we get a written opinion or written decision from an administrative law judge and I take a look at it and I say, look, this is a good decision. I know you got denied, but it's a reasoned decision and I don't really have a good faith basis to argue with it.
Right.
I will tell you, frankly, look, this is as far as I'm going to go, because I, as an attorney, I have an ethical duty to the tribunal to not pursue things that have no merit.
True. Well, that's good. I'm just surprised because I had an idea, but the amount of services and the type of resources that legal services in North Florida it's amazing. So you enjoy your job.
I actually do love my job.
Right.
I like the fact that I get to actually work with people.
Yes.
So I get to see clients pretty much every day, in some way, shape, or form. And, even when I have to deliver that bad news, I like that somebody has seen them. Somebody has actually gotten to see this person and helped them, even if it's a bad outcome.
Right.
And I hope that, they think, okay, good, at least that one guy saw me and listened to me.
Yeah. And it's like that sometimes, but the reason why I said that, because I can just tell by this conversation the way you were explaining things that, when you wake up in the morning, and it may be some days, but there are far and few days we're like, oh man, I just don't want to go in here today. But you're actually you enjoy helping the clients, you enjoy servicing the people that you come across.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people that I don't think you should go to law school just on a whim. I think you should go to law school because you have an idea of what it is you want to do. And it's fine if it changes during your time in law school, or if you find something that you're like, oh, this is really cool, I have never even thought of that. But I mean, I went knowing I wanted to deal with people, that I wanted to help people where they weren't getting a whole lot of reception.
Right.
And that to me is why I still do what I do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because like you said, you could have chosen corporate law, all these other types of things, but you want to be able to use your skill sets, and you still can, but you're using your skill sets to give back to your community. And at the end of the day, that's commended.
And I will say that is what LSNF is about. We all, I think, are very cognizant of that. And I do love the fact that I work at an organization that's committed to that and work with people who really do care about those values.
Right. So where are you located here in Tallahassee?
So I'm in Tallahassee. I kind of moonlight around the different offices. I do virtual stuff in Panama City and Fort Walton and in Pensacola. Okay. I do go out to Quincy. I'm actually going out to Quincy tomorrow. So we have in Tallahassee, we have two offices. We have one office that's the main office, and I can give you that address. It's 2119 Delta Boulevard, kind of by the Tallahassee Mall, if anyone knows where that is.
Okay.
And then we have a satellite office where it's only a couple blocks away. But generally we send clients over to the 2119 Delta Boulevard location.
Okay. And it's close to the Tallahassee Mall. So
yeah,
we'll definitely be able to find that. I mean, you know what? Yes, I remember. Yes, because I think you guys gave us some chairs or something in the past. But I do.
And you came and delivered them back to us. How nice.
Yes. So I do remember the offices down the street from the Tallahassee Mall. Yes. Because you guys definitely helped us out with an event that we had before. So
I mean, we definitely do work with you guys. We have a couple of attorneys who work with you guys. I love getting referrals from you guys. I used to do work when I was in Miami with Jackson Hospital, which is the big hospital down there. Give me as many cases as you want. I love taking cases from doctors at the clinics because I know that the doctors want to help people. That they're identifying patients where they're saying, look, I'm a doctor, I can't do this for you, but you need to see a lawyer. I'm going to send you over to these guys.
Yes. And I'm glad I know now. And I'm more familiar with the services that you guys provide and with the passion that you have, because that's going to be great. Because when I tell people, go to Legal Services North Florida, Thomas will take care of you. I know I'm not just saying that, it's the truth. And that's because that's what we like to tell people. And you gave a lot of great information. So I know when people see this, that you get ready to get a little bit busier. Because it's like now the floodgates are open and more people know that they do have help. They have somebody that can be in their corner that will fight for them. To the last
or at least give them information. And I did want to plug this one thing. You've probably already seen
Yes.
a lot of this, or at least told people about it. Medicaid.
Yes.
So, we were talking about things that, are the way they are. And unfortunately, we may not be able to do a lot about them, but we want people to be aware of them and have resources. Mm-hmm. So we used to be under, and I think we still are under, the public health emergency because of the coronavirus, COVID. The PHE, public health emergency, that's not ending. But there was a part of that law that said that Medicaid had to keep going, that people had to keep being provided their Medicaid and could not be cut off, even if they weren't eligible. That's ending. So state of Florida, and actually throughout the country, but specifically the state of Florida, is going to restart doing redeterminations for Medicaid. They've probably already started pre-screening people. So this month, many people are probably going to be getting notices that their Medicaid might be getting cut off. The ineligibility would start April 30th, so the end of this month. The best advice I can give to people is try to reapply, cooperate with DCF, try to get your renewals in time. Again, it might be that you don't qualify for Medicaid, and that's a shame. But try to work through the process. If you believe that there's a problem going on, come see me, come see somebody at my office. And we can at least look through it and see what's going on. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely appreciate that. What are the best ways?
A lot of people are probably going to find this out when they go to try to get a prescription or go to a doctor. And, they run the card and they say, sorry, this is it.
Yeah. And I did hear a while ago they were cutting SNAP benefits and some of the other things too. So a lot of things are changing for people. Yes.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. But that's why we try to gather as many resources as possible and try to put them under one umbrella, and people can just access these resources, because the landscape of the help or the resources that people had in the past, that's changing. So
Right.
So what are the best ways for people to contact you? Oprah, whoever, Jay-Z, whoever see this interview, I'm like, Thomas is the man. What's the best way somebody to get in contact with you?
The best way is honestly to go through the website. If you want to do an intake for an application to get help, go through the website, do that. I think it just literally, you are looking at it. It's a purple button on the top right that says, apply now. Or the main intake line. So there's various office numbers if you say contact us, or lines into each individual office. That's the best way to get a hold of really any of us at Legal Services. Yeah, and if it's me in particular, you can ask the person, and they'll ferry down the message to me, and I'll figure out what to do with it.
Cool. And like you said, if you go to the website, it's 3 purple buttons at the top right of the page: apply for help, contact, and give today. The apply for help and the contact are right there, where you can sign up real easy and be able to access the services. So I want to say this in front of the world. Whenever we have events, you're more than welcome to come and set up a table. I know we have a food drive on the 20th. We usually have a line of cars lined up before the actual food drive happens. So if you want to come out and pass out some information, but anytime we have an event and we're doing something in the community, you're more than welcome to be a vendor. I've already told you so. You just got to say yes or no for that event. Yeah, because you're a valuable asset within this community, and we want to make sure that more people know about you, and however we can help to get the word out, we want to make sure we'll be a part of that.
Right. No, and that's what it's about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Thomas Voracek, you are the man. Legal Services of North Florida. That they are here to help, and free services that you can access. Just do it. Just access the services. Therefore, we can, because that's what we're here to do. We can have the upliftment and empowerment and the things that we need to change our community for the better, because we want to see the people in our community get better and grow with the information that we have. So I appreciate
that's what it's about.
Yep. I appreciate you, Thomas.
Well, I appreciate you and all the work that you do in the clinic, the center. I mean, you do a lot of good work.
Yes, thank you. And remember, audience, this is Mind Your Body and Soul, the healthiest podcast that you have ever heard in your entire life. And remember, health is more than just in the body. It's holistic. So that's why we have Thomas on the podcast. And remember, Mind Your Body and Soul is an educational podcast that focuses on all things health related to help our listeners learn more about various health topics and information they may not have access to. So remember, we seek to inform, empower, uplift, and mobilize our listeners to become the healthiest versions of themselves. www.nmcpodcast.com is our podcast website. www.neighborhoodmedicalcenter.org is the website for Neighborhood Medical Center to access our services. You can get our audio of our podcast on Anchor, Breaker Radio, Public Pocket Cast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and as always, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit the like button in the comments and tell us your comments and tell Thomas how much you love him because he's an awesome person. So with that being said, we will see you guys next time.
Thank you, Joseph.